Look, I know what everyone's going to say. Before anyone tries it, this is a real backdrop. I can wear green. Don't worry about it. It's nothing different, right? Welcome to Football This Morning. I'm Matt Ryan. This week on the program, it's Conference Championship Sunday. Let's run you through the top line at 4 o'clock. It's the undefeated Trenton BIC taking on the Paterson U. The U looking for redemption not only for the 2022 championship, but for their only loss during the regular season to the BIC. And conversely, at 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific time, it will be SickWidit and the Insomniacs for the Western Conference Championship. The winner of that game will come out here on July 21st to Asbury Park Stadium to battle the BIC or the U for the national championship to crown our 10th champion. And of course, I'm Matt Ryan. Good morning. And folks, BICU, the rivalry that started at the end of the Town Beef era going all the way back to 2014, getting resolved in another chapter as one era of the A7FL may come to an end when the U take on the BIC. And folks, when you look at the top line of this game, you see a couple of matchups. Obviously, the one that's most glaring, the defending MVP, Quattrell Huffin, going up against a man who might be the 2024 MVP in Sterry Codrington. Both of them have been the leader for their offense this year. Huff getting hurt against the Covington Heist in the early rounds of the playoffs, was not seen in action against the Tampa Nightcrawlers a few weeks ago. What will happen? Will it be Kareem Moon? Will we see Carlos Crosland behind center, or will Huff do the Willis Reed and return to the field as a new dad? We'll see what happens at 4 o'clock, and he goes up against Sterry Codrington, who has been reminiscent of the Sterry Codrington we saw in 2022. Less of the in-the-pocket passer and more of a hybrid. He has been proficient this year on throwing the ball and running the ball. And when you have weapons like Ashante Worthy, Trey Robinson, Courage Mosey allegedly will be in the lineup today. And a key weapon for them across the board will be that defense. Can the BIC defense withstand 60 minutes against the Paterson U running game? Will Hardbody, will Marcus McKinney, Willie Easterling, also known as Willie Mayweather, and Snag Sosa make it an impossible day for the Trenton BIC defense? And then Isaac Negron looking to win his second Defensive Player of the Year in 3 seasons. He's lived up to his ISAC nickname, trying to break a record in this league. What will happen when he goes up against Dave Valley and that BIC offensive line? I cannot wait for it. For a deeper look at this game, we go onto the tape. Let's head on over to Clerc Video.
Thanks, Matt. I hope you all ain't thinking it's going to be the same as last time, because the U coming fully staffed and ready for this one. It all starts up front, and by me saying that, pay attention towards the trenches. On BIC side of the ball, we all know Dave Valley. He's been pancaking people left and right, week after week after week. He's a rookie but plays like a vet. Don't sleep on that, man. BIC also has a rookie center that does damage when he plays. So coming fully staffed, that BIC front is going to be crazy. Let's not forget about the U. They got Muggsy, by far one of the best O-linemen in the league. If you don't believe me, pull up film. You'll see. The U also has a sprinkle of Baltimore players on that O and D line. When I tell you underrated, it's crazy. If you come into this game thinking it's going to be the same outcome as last time, you're really mistaken. I feel as if the U is going to match up well against BIC this game. But the game's going to rely on the QB, Sterry, and whoever the QB is for the U. The U's best bet to me is Moon. He's a game manager, he controls the clock, and he's a real vet. And with that being said, knowing Moon, he's going to control the clock and try to limit Sterry from being on the field. But the crazy thing is, even if you limit Sterry from being on the field, you could leave him 3 seconds on the clock and he'll still find a way to score. This is really going to be a great game. This game is going to be so good, I really have to be there myself. So come Sunday, give us a show. Because the stands are going to be full. I really can't wait. Hey, Matt, see you then.
Thanks, Ron, and that is our first game at 4 o'clock. If you love the A7FL, if you love the highlights, you love the big hits, you love the drama, you are going to get that and then some. The last two meetings in the playoffs between these two teams have come down to the goal line more times than I can remember in setting stages for some of the most dramatic moments in A7FL history, and I know what's happened this season. I've been here. I've seen it. If I'm saying that, you're going to want to strap in for 4 o'clock when it's the BIC and the U. We're going to take a brief timeout and talk about some other things, but when we come back, we'll hear from Dub Alvarez, and we'll take a look at SickWidit and the Insomniacs as we're counting down to the conference championships on football this morning. Hey, it's Matt Ryan from the 3-on-1 podcast. If you're not tired of hearing me, Corey, and Rob talk every single week on the games of the week, then you should listen to the 3-on-1 podcast every Friday on your favorite podcast feed, A7FL.TV, and the A7FL YouTube channel. The 3-on-1 podcast. You probably have better things to do, so let's be serious. Welcome back to Football This Morning. I'm Matt Ryan, and our final game from the state of Nevada, our final time in the Pacific time zone this season. We'll see the two biggest rivals in A7FL Nevada, the biggest rivalry in the Western Conference, have another chapter as the Insomniacs, the 2 seed, take on the number 1 seed SickWidit. Heading into the season, a lot of people thought the Insomniacs would run the table on the road to another appearance in the A7FL Championship. But during the regular season, SickWidit did what no team has been able to do since Scott Hamilton, James Burgoyne, and RTC, amongst others, took over the fortunes of the Insomniacs following the passing of Donnie Bunak at the beginning of 2023. And now it'll come down to that insane SickWidit offense and a Insomniacs team looking for redemption, looking for a win that they feel that should be theirs, and more importantly, looking to prove that what they've been saying since July 23rd of last year is true. That not only is A7FL Nevada and the West the best conference and the best division in the league, but they are the kingmakers. They are the cornerstones. Omar Little said, if you come at the king, you best not miss. Ric Flair said, to be the man, you've got to beat the man. And if SickWidit do it, that's going to be some interesting conversation heading into the national championship. Starting at 11 o'clock Eastern tonight, going into the wee hours of the morning as the sun sets in the desert, we are going to know one thing by the end of the night. And that are the two teams that will represent each side of this country in the A7FL Championship. So when it gets down to it tonight, the Insomniacs have to prove every single receipt that they have been sending out for the last 12 months. SickWidit just has to show up and play football. They're playing with house money tonight. People think that the Insomniacs are going to walk out of this game the winner. Will we have that what could have been? Will we see SickWidit alter the timeline one more time? And from there, what's the conversation? What's the narrative? What are people going to talk about heading into 2 Sundays from now? That's not for me to know. But this is Football This Morning. Welcome back to Football This Morning, and let's get a look at the Western Conference Finals from Dub Alvarez.
Thank you, Matt Ryan, and happy Final Four Sunday to you, Rob and Corey. Looking forward to hearing your call on the latest chapter. That is the Trenton BIC and the Paterson U, as we look to see who indeed will be the beast of the East in the A7FL. How will the West be won here in Nevada? Once again, we tell the chapter that is SickWidit and the Insomniacs a rematch from Week 5 to where Sick finally got that first elusive win over the Insomniacs by a final score of 56-50. But now here comes the latest question that face SickWidit. Can they do it again? But this time, all the marbles are on the line and a trip to the national championship game hangs in the balance. And of course, money on the line is always when the greatest players seem to shine. For the Insomniacs, some might say that loss back on May 5th might have been a blessing in disguise, and it looks to reshape and refocus them at the task at hand. Of course, they would love nothing more than to join the Paterson U as the only other team to repeat as national champions in A7FL history. But I think the one matchup, the big matchup that I'll be paying attention to personally is the matchup up front between Big Josiah Sal, the Big Oos, and Big Kitty Mac. I think who controls that matchup might control the pace and might lead their team to a big win and a trip to Asbury Park, New Jersey, and the national championship game on July 21st. If you can't join us at Matter Academy, which is going to be another late start of 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, 10 Central, and 9 Mountain, but if you can't join us at Matter Academy, join myself and Scott the Viking McCorkle on ASNFL here in Las Vegas on Cox Channel 125 and Fox 5.2, all a part of the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. Well, as Gorilla Monsoon used to say, you can cut the electricity with the knife, and I think we all feel that way. Now, there is some cotton in the mouth and some butterflies in the stomach, but as Frank Gifford used to say, after the first contact, all of that will disappear. Matt, enjoy the game today, buddy. I know I will. Back to you.
And when we come back, I'll wrap things up with my thoughts on the Eastern Conference Finals, and, well, just say goodbye. It's Football This Morning. Hey, it's Matt Ryan from the 3-on-1 podcast. If you're not tired of hearing me, Corey, and Rob talk every single week on the games of the week, then you should listen to the 3-on-1 podcast every Friday on your favorite podcast feed, A7FL.TV, and the A7FL YouTube channel. The 3-on-1 podcast. You probably have better things to do, but let's be serious. A little over 5 years ago, not too far from this little corner of mine, I made a phone call and I spoke with a man named David Isaacs about basically what I'm doing right now. A few days later, I ended up in a field in New Jersey, and over the last 5 years, I can say that watching the A7FL and being not only someone who went from A announcer to the A announcer, someone who went from making suggestions to the producer of not only this show, but our games, our championship, being basically 1/3 of the face of this league that's not a player. And that has meant the absolute world to me. All but one of the last 5 A7FL championships I have announced and or produced. And all but one of them have featured either Quattrell Huffin, Ashante Worthy, or Sterry Codrington. And while for Sterry and Ashante, this may not be the last chance, for the Paterson U, And for players like Mo Ramadan, for Dot Boss, for every single player that has been here, like Pat Coburn, since Town Beef, players that have been on teams like SWG or the Bombers or the Union City Chiefs, teams that have been lost to the sands of time in this league. The Las Vegas Insomniacs have been in the league for the last 3 seasons. And you look at what they're building out there, and you see that SickWidit's right behind them. The gap between the U and the BIC shifted a few years ago. But when Huff came back this year, it felt like, okay, this makes sense. Everything feels right. And then the animals started catching up at everybody. They're not ready yet. They're like the BIC in 2020, 2021. They are hungry. They're scrappy. They've got the tools, but they don't have the finished product. This Trenton BIC team is the most complete team I have seen in 5 seasons of calling the A7FL. But then Huff, hurt, not hurt, it doesn't matter. He's Quattrell Huffin. At the end of today's game, more than likely the Trenton BIC will win, and the era of the A7FL as we know it will be on its final pages. That chapter is coming to an end, and we're seeing new stars rise, and we're seeing a new style of play, and we're seeing more sizzle, less steak, and that's okay. That's fun. That's football. That's what I love. But wouldn't it be something if those old f***ing dogs got one more win? Just one more win. 'Cause what if the Insomniacs show up and it's Huff and it's Pat and it's the Ramadan brothers? If you're a fan of the old school A7FL, you are torn today. Because a lot of you are going to be fans of the BIC because you were there for 2016. Or you grew up, Sterry and Ashante are revelatory athletes, or you just watched them play in high school and followed their journey. But a lot of you who played against Huff, played against Mo, watched these guys grow up, probably pulling for the U a little bit today. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. And as we put the final words of this chapter in the A7FL on the page, all we can say is thank you. And be grateful that we get to do this. For all of us here at Football This Morning, I'm Matt Ryan. We'll see you at Throw Off.